All right, everyone, it is time for October favorites. As I said in my September favorites, I really needed to test out some of the new products I had purchased or redeemed Ulta points for in August, tried once or twice, and then set aside and just kept using the same products over and over again in September. And that is what I spent October doing. Anything that I had featured in my September favorites, I don't even think I touched in the month of October because I needed to really go back to some previous favorites and work through some new products. So first and foremost, my coffee favorite of the month should come as no surprise to anyone that has been listening or watching this channel. Bones Coffee Rough Weather Oatmeal Cream Pie. Tastes like an oatmeal cookie with a hit of buttercream frosting at the end. Love this one. It's like nothing I've ever tasted. It's in my top 10 favorite coffees of all time. It will be in my favorites of the year. It is a Halloween themed coffee. You can still find it on their website. It is listed as limited edition. I do not know how long they will have it, but it has been up for quite a while, so you can probably still snag a bag or two. Other non-beauty favorite is podcast. I started binging on in early October, haven't stopped since. The Heed the Call podcast is hosted by Dan Hansis and Mark Sessler. First and foremost, this is a football-based podcast. If you are not interested in football, if you're not a football fan, this is not for you. We can talk about a different podcast next month. I loved when Dan and Mark were on the Around the NFL podcast. It was my favorite podcast for years, and I was so disappointed when I stopped seeing new episodes coming up on my podcast apps. And I started hearing rumblings about coming back, new partnerships, and Heed the Call debuted on my Spotify Premium in the middle of August. At that time, I had a couple other podcasts that were in my to be listened to category, and I didn't really get around binging it until end of September, early October. Again, I love football. I love fantasy football. I love my Eagles. If you love any of these things, definitely these guys are the experts. Give a listen to this podcast. So over to beauty favorites. I picked this one up in August. The Urban Decay Original Naked Palette had been a favorite of mine for years and years and years. I completely used my entire first palette. The velvet was disgusting, the top was broken, shades were fully panned. I had to just throw it away. It was so gross. I was so excited when I saw this new one come out. I had actually been considering trying to dupe out a couple of the shades I really loved and look for singles in MAC and ColourPop, but it was again one of those things that it's not a huge priority. I have a lot of makeup and I just never got around to it. And then once the new palette was announced, much easier, just buy the brand new palette. So this is 14 neutral shades. They're with a double-ended brush that it comes with. There are a million reviews of this on YouTube and TikTok. This was the original YouTube palette. If you throw it in a search bar on YouTube, you will get so many responses back using the old palette, the new palette. There's so many ways you can create neutral looks with this. Of course, it is a neutral palette. If you are not looking for neutrals, this is not a palette for you. And to be warned, of the 14 shades, it only has 2 mattes. My eye looks always start exactly the same with this palette. Some of the standout shades for me, Sidecar is my favorite. It is more of a neutral shimmer. Half Baked was my favorite the first time around. It's more of a gold shimmer. I always did that all over the lid. Like that takes me back to graduate school when I had less than 15, 20 palettes, and I use this one all the time. Then we have Smog, which is a little deeper. And then we have Toasted, which is a little more of a true neutral, a little bit of almost like a rusty brown in it. My current favorites this time around are Sidecar and Toasted. My favorites before were Smog and Half Baked. You can't go wrong with any of them if you like neutrals. Then on to a lipstick that I have sort of kind of been trying for years, but it was reformulated, so I had to go back and purchase some new ones. I'm talking about the Sephora Collection Cream Lip Stain 10-Hour Liquid Lipstick. If you watched YouTube before, this is the original. This is 01 Always Red. Always sold out was what I called it because I could never get my hands on this shade. One day I finally did. I never looked back. This is the perfect red. I don't even need a lip liner with it. Even the original, the non-reformulated, lasted for 8 hours. They reformulated, they brought out a bunch of new shades, reformulated some of the old ones. I have 2 of the newer ones right here. These last for 10 plus hours. I have 133 Purple Pop and I have 14 Blackberry Sorbet. They have a full range of colors. They're $18 each, which for Sephora is quite reasonable. Every shade I've ever used has lasted 8 to 10 hours on my lips through eating, through drinking, whatever. Absolutely love it. They are on the drying side, so I do have to touch up with a lip balm, but it does not affect the longevity. I highly recommend you find some colors you like and you test these out, because right now it is the Sephora VIB sale. All of Sephora collection is 30% off. Which leads me to my other favorite from Sephora collection. These are the sheet masks. My favorite is the watermelon. I also love the coconut and the lychee. I've used these on and off for years. They used to have a rose one, which I so sorely miss. I have dry skin, so I use the hydrating, the quenching, the calming ones. They have ones for all different skin types. I have never found someone that could not find a sheet mask in this line that worked for them. Again, they're 30% off right now with the Sephora sale. You can buy them in sets, you can buy them individually. I still recommend heading to Sephora and checking those out. Typical usage should be twice a week. If I get twice a month, I'll call it a day. I do tend to save them 4 times when my skin is really dry, really dehydrated, just having a bad skin day, or before a really important event or date when I want to look my best. The last thing of the month is in something else that I did a dedicated full review on. This is a perfume favorite. This is Le Monde Gourmand's Pistachio Brulee. I started that review by saying I don't like gourmand fragrances. I still don't like them that much. I'm not someone who's huge into gourmands. I'm not huge into vanillas. I much prefer florals. Fall and winter, I just tend to do darker florals with more musk. But Le Monde Gourmand is now sold on Ulta. You can also find them at Urban Decay and their website too. So I decided to step out of my comfort zone and give this one a try with an Ulta order. So happy I did. As I said in that review, this is a great, warm, gourmand without being too sweet fall winter fragrance. The notes are milky mousse, pistachio crumbles, and vanilla bean. I put all the pistachio, all the vanilla bean. It is not as sweet as the Kayali pistachio because that one also has marshmallow and caramel in it. This is much more of a dark, nutty gourmand. Downside to these is they are not a luxury perfume. This bottle was only $25, and therefore they do not have the lasting power of a luxury perfume. If I get 4 to 5 hours out of one of these, I'm happy. If I'm gonna be gone all day and I want my perfume to last all day, I have to throw the perfume in my bag. There is no way around it. So those are my October favorites. I'll be back next month with November favorites. Hopefully I can keep testing a couple new things, but I also have a bunch of things that I'm getting low on, so I do want to try and take some time this month to finish through products that I'm completely done with and decide if I would repurchase. Please let me know what your October favorites are, and I hope you have a great month of November.